1947, in the rugged caves of Qumran near the Dead Sea, a remarkable discovery was made that would challenge our understanding of biblical history. A Bedouin shepherd, searching for a stray goat, stumbled upon ancient clay jars containing what we now know as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Among these precious manuscripts were texts that spoke of beings called the sons of God, entities that existed before Adam's creation. This discovery sparked intense scholarly debate within religious and academic circles. The scrolls contain detailed descriptions of these divine beings, their roles in creation, and their interactions with humanity. What made these accounts particularly intriguing was their alignment with existing biblical texts, especially those found in the Book of Job and Genesis. The significance of these manuscripts extends beyond their religious implications. Similar references to divine beings appear in ancient Mesopotamian tablets, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and early Christian texts. These parallel accounts suggest a widespread ancient belief in celestial beings that predated human existence. The Dead Sea Scrolls' revelation about the sons of God raises profound questions about our understanding of creation. Were these beings angels, as some scholars suggest, or did they represent something else entirely? The answer may lie in a careful examination of both biblical texts and historical records. The existence of the sons of God presents one of the most intriguing mysteries in biblical scholarship. Within the sacred texts, we find numerous references to these beings, yet their true nature remains a subject of profound theological discussion. The Book of Job explicitly states that these entities were present during the foundation of the earth, rejoicing as God laid its cornerstone. This revelation raises fundamental questions about the traditional narrative of creation. If these beings witnessed the earth's formation, who were they? The biblical account in Genesis begins with, "In the beginning." But the presence of the sons of God suggests a deeper, more complex story that precedes even this momentous opening. Ancient religious texts from various traditions provide additional context. Hebrew manuscripts describe these beings as Bene Elohim, literally, sons of God, suggesting they held a unique position in the divine hierarchy. Early rabbinical commentaries discuss their role as witnesses to creation and their interactions with the physical world. The question of their existence challenges our understanding of biblical chronology. While Adam is traditionally viewed as the first of God's creation, the presence of these beings indicates a more elaborate divine plan. Their existence raises profound theological questions about the nature of creation itself and humanity's place within it. The Book of Job provides one of the most compelling testimonies about the sons of God in biblical literature. In a profound exchange between God and Job, we encounter a remarkable revelation about creation's earliest moments. The passage reads, "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation, while the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy?" Job 38:4-7. This divine questioning of Job reveals an extraordinary scene, the sons of God witnessing and celebrating the earth's formation. The text presents these beings not as mere observers, but as active participants in this cosmic event, their joyous acclaim suggesting an intimate understanding of God's creative work. The significance of this passage extends beyond its poetic beauty. It establishes a clear chronological marker. These beings existed before the earth's foundation. This temporal placement challenges traditional interpretations of creation's sequence and suggests a more complex divine order than commonly understood. Moreover, the Book of Job's account aligns with other biblical references to these beings, creating a consistent narrative thread throughout sacred texts. The ancient Near East has yielded significant archaeological evidence that enriches our understanding of how ancient civilizations viewed divine beings. Excavations across Mesopotamia have uncovered numerous clay tablets containing references to celestial beings who predated human creation. The Library of Ashurbanipal, discovered in Nineveh, contains texts describing divine councils and heavenly beings serving as witnesses to creation. In Egyptian archaeological records, particularly within the pyramid texts, we find hieroglyphic inscriptions depicting beings described as children of the gods. These texts, dating back to the Old Kingdom period, 2686 to 2181 BCE, present remarkable parallels to the biblical accounts of the sons of God. The Egyptian concept of divine hierarchies provides valuable context for understanding how ancient cultures conceived of celestial beings. The discovery of Ugaritic texts at Ras Shamra offers additional insights. These tablets, dating from around 1400 to 1350 BCE, contain references to divine assemblies that bear striking similarities to the biblical descriptions of the sons of God. The Ugaritic material presents these beings as members of a celestial court, participating in divine councils and decisions. Archaeological findings from ancient Sumer provide further evidence. The Epic of Gilgamesh and other Sumerian texts describe divine beings who existed before humanity. These accounts, while distinct from biblical narratives, demonstrate how widespread the concept of pre-human divine beings was throughout the ancient world. These archaeological discoveries provide crucial historical context for understanding biblical references to the sons of God. They reveal that the concept of divine beings predating humanity was not unique to Hebrew theology, but was part of a broader ancient Near Eastern understanding of the divine realm. Ancient civilizations across different regions preserved remarkable accounts of divine beings that share similarities with the biblical sons of God. These parallels provide valuable insights into how various cultures understood celestial hierarchies and divine orders. In ancient Mesopotamian tradition, particularly in Babylonian texts, we find accounts of the Anunnaki, divine beings who served in celestial courts. The Epic of Atrahasis describes these beings as existing before the creation of humanity, serving in a divine assembly that mirrors biblical descriptions of the sons of God's presence during creation. Greek classical literature presents a similar concept through the Titans, who preceded the Olympic gods and were present at the world's formation. While distinct from biblical accounts, these traditions reflect a common understanding of divine beings who existed before humanity. Persian Zoroastrian texts speak of the Amesha Spentas, divine beings who assisted Ahura Mazda in creation and governance of the universe. These accounts, dating back to the first millennium BCE, demonstrate how widespread the concept of pre-human divine beings was across ancient cultures. Hindu Vedic texts contain references to the Devas, divine beings who witnessed the universe's creation. These ancient Sanskrit writings, while emerging from a different religious tradition, share the concept of divine beings present at creation's dawn. Historical religious documents reveal a consistent pattern of belief in divine beings across different periods and cultures. Early Christian writings, particularly from the 2nd and 3rd centuries, contain detailed discussions about the sons of God. The writings of early church fathers such as Origen and Justin Martyr provide theological interpretations of these beings' roles in creation and divine governance. Medieval religious manuscripts offer additional perspectives on these divine beings. The Dead Sea Scrolls Book of Enoch, though not canonical, elaborates extensively on the sons of God's nature and their interactions with the divine realm. These texts demonstrate how ancient religious communities understood and interpreted these beings' significance. Religious artifacts from early monasteries and churches often depict hierarchies of celestial beings. Medieval illuminated manuscripts, particularly those from European monasteries, contain intricate illustrations of divine councils and assemblies, reflecting theological understanding of the sons of God's role in creation. Ancient Jewish commentaries, including the Talmud and Midrash, provide detailed analyses of these beings' nature. These texts explore their relationship with the divine and their role in the cosmic order, offering insights into how religious scholars historically interpreted their existence. In examining biblical references to the sons of God, we must begin with a systematic analysis of key passages that establish their existence and nature. These references, when studied in context, reveal a consistent narrative about these divine beings and their role in creation. The foundation in Genesis provides our first encounter with these beings, though not chronologically in terms of biblical events. Genesis 6:1-4 states, "When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose." This passage introduces a profound interaction between divine and human realms, raising significant theological questions about the nature of these beings. The context of this passage becomes particularly significant when we consider its placement within the pre-flood narrative. The text suggests these beings possessed both consciousness and will, capable of making decisions that would impact human history. The passage's placement in Genesis, while brief, establishes their reality within biblical narrative. The testimony of Job. The book of Job provides our most explicit reference to the sons of God's presence during creation. Job 38, verse 4-7, presents God's direct testimony. "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me, if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone while the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy?" This passage definitively places these beings at creation's dawn, preceding the formation of the physical world. The text portrays them as conscious witnesses to God's creative work, capable of comprehending and celebrating these divine acts. Their presence at this cosmic moment suggests a significant role in the divine order. Additional biblical references. Further references appear throughout the Old Testament, each adding layers to our understanding. Psalm 89:6 asks, "For who in the skies above can compare with the Lord? Who is like the Lord among the heavenly beings?" The Hebrew term used here, B'nai Elohim, directly relates to the sons of God concept. Daniel's writings provide additional context, describing celestial beings involved in divine governance. Daniel 7:9-10 depicts a heavenly court scene where thousands upon thousands attended him. This image of divine administration aligns with other biblical descriptions of the sons of God's role. Theological implications. These biblical references, when examined collectively, reveal several key principles about the sons of God. First, they existed before physical creation, suggesting a spiritual realm that predates our material universe. This challenges simplified views of creation's timeline and suggests a more complex divine order. Second, they possessed consciousness and will, capable of interaction with both divine and physical realms. Their ability to witness, comprehend, and celebrate creation indicates sophisticated awareness and intelligence. Third, they operated within a structured celestial hierarchy, regularly appearing in contexts of divine councils and heavenly courts. This suggests an organized spiritual realm with defined roles and responsibilities. Fourth, their interactions with the physical world were significant enough to warrant multiple biblical references, indicating their ongoing relevance to divine purposes. Interpretative considerations. When interpreting these passages, we must consider several factors. The original Hebrew terms used provide crucial insights. B'nai Elohim, sons of God, carries specific theological weight, distinct from terms used for angels or other spiritual beings. The consistent pattern of references across different biblical authors and time periods suggests these beings were widely acknowledged within ancient Hebrew understanding. The contexts in which they appear, creation, divine councils, and interaction with humanity, indicate their significant role in biblical narrative. These references occur in various literary genres within Scripture: historical narrative, poetry, and prophetic vision, suggesting their reality was accepted across different forms of biblical literature. The textual evidence demonstrates that the sons of God were not peripheral figures, but integral participants in divine activity, present from creation's beginning and involved in ongoing spiritual governance. Traditional theological scholarship has developed several comprehensive theories regarding the identity of the sons of God, each supported by textual evidence and ancient religious understanding. The angelic interpretation. The most widely accepted interpretation among early Christian and Jewish scholars identifies the sons of God as angelic beings. This understanding stems from several key pieces of biblical evidence. The Book of Job presents these beings in a celestial context, participating in divine councils and operating within heaven's court. Their ability to appear before God and engage in spiritual matters aligns with traditional descriptions of angelic beings. Supporting this interpretation, ancient Jewish texts, particularly the Dead Sea Scrolls, consistently portray these beings as members of the heavenly host. The Qumran community's writings frequently reference them in contexts suggesting angelic status. Their presence at creation, as described in Job, parallels other biblical accounts of angels serving as divine witnesses and messengers. Early church fathers, including Augustine and Justin Martyr, largely endorsed this view. Their writings emphasize these beings' spiritual nature and their role in divine governance. This interpretation also explains their access to both heavenly and earthly realms, a characteristic typically associated with angelic beings. The divine council theory. A second significant interpretation suggests these beings were members of a divine council, serving as celestial administrators in God's governance of creation. This theory draws support from numerous biblical passages describing heavenly court scenes. The prophet Daniel's visions, for instance, depict elaborate heavenly court proceedings where multiple divine beings participate in celestial governance. Ancient Near Eastern parallels provide context for this interpretation. Mesopotamian and Ugaritic texts frequently reference divine councils, where lesser deities served higher gods. While biblical theology firmly maintains monotheism, the language of divine councils appears throughout Scripture, suggesting administrative roles for these beings. This understanding helps explain their presence at creation and their ongoing involvement in divine affairs. Their celebration at Earth's foundation, as recorded in Job, indicates both their privileged position and their administrative function within divine governance. The spiritual beings theory. A third interpretation proposes these beings represented a distinct category of spiritual entities, neither precisely angels nor members of a divine council, but unique beings created for specific purposes. This view emerges from careful analysis of the Hebrew term Bene Elohim, which suggests a special relationship with God, distinct from other created beings. This interpretation finds support in the varied contexts where these beings appear in Scripture. Their interactions range from heavenly worship to earthly engagement, suggesting capabilities and roles that might exceed traditional angelic functions. Their designation as sons implies a unique relationship with God, possibly indicating a special created order. Textual and historical evidence. Each of these theories finds support in ancient religious texts and historical documents. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain numerous references to these beings, often describing them in contexts that could support any of these interpretations. Early religious writings from various traditions demonstrate how ancient communities wrestled with understanding their nature and purpose. Archaeological evidence from the ancient Near East reveals widespread recognition of divine beings serving in celestial hierarchies. While these parallel accounts cannot definitively establish biblical interpretation, they provide valuable context for understanding how ancient cultures conceived of divine-human interactions. Theological implications. Understanding the identity of the sons of God carries significant theological implications. Their existence before creation suggests a spiritual realm predating the physical universe. Their role in divine governance indicates an organized celestial hierarchy. Their interactions with humanity raise questions about the relationship between spiritual and physical realms. These implications have influenced religious thought throughout history. Early Jewish and Christian communities developed complex theological frameworks to explain these beings' nature and purpose. Their presence in Scripture continues to inform discussions about divine governance and spiritual reality. Contemporary understanding. Modern theological scholarship continues to examine these various interpretations. While the angelic view remains predominant, scholars recognize the complexity of biblical evidence and the possibility that these beings represented a unique category of divine creation. Their identity remains a subject of thoughtful theological discussion and biblical research. Throughout biblical and historical religious texts, the sons of God demonstrated specific roles and influences that shaped both divine governance and human history. Their functions can be systematically examined through documented religious sources and ancient texts. Divine witnesses and participants. The primary role of these beings, as evidenced in the book of Job, was their function as witnesses to divine creation. Their presence at the earth's foundation indicates their significant position within the celestial order. The text describes them not as passive observers, but as active participants who shouted for joy, suggesting both comprehension and appreciation of divine creative acts. The Dead Sea Scrolls elaborate on this witnessing role, describing these beings as constant observers of divine activities. Their presence at creation's dawn indicates their importance in the divine narrative and their unique position as witnesses to God's creative power. Celestial administration. Ancient religious texts consistently portray these beings as participants in divine governance. The Book of Daniel presents scenes of celestial courts where divine beings gather before God's throne. This administrative function appears throughout biblical literature, suggesting their role in implementing divine decisions and maintaining cosmic order. Early rabbinical writings discuss their participation in heavenly councils, where they served as divine administrators. These texts describe their involvement in celestial governance, indicating their role extended beyond mere observation to active participation in divine administration. Interaction with human affairs. Biblical accounts document specific instances of these beings' interaction with human history. Genesis 6 presents perhaps the most significant example, describing their direct engagement with human affairs. This interaction, while controversial in interpretation, demonstrates their ability to influence human events. Historical religious documents from various traditions contain references to these beings' involvement in human history. Ancient Near Eastern texts describe similar divine-human interactions, providing context for understanding their influence on earthly affairs. Spiritual hierarchy and order. Their position within the spiritual hierarchy reveals another crucial aspect of their role. Biblical texts present them as beings of significant authority, yet clearly subordinate to God. This hierarchical position helped establish the structure of divine order that appears throughout Scripture. Ancient Jewish texts elaborate on this hierarchical arrangement, describing specific functions and responsibilities assigned to these beings. Their position in this celestial order illuminates their relationship with both divine authority and created beings. Preservation of divine knowledge. Historical documents suggest these beings served as guardians of divine knowledge. Their presence from creation's beginning positioned them as witnesses to God's works and ways. Early religious writings describe their role in preserving and transmitting divine truth. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain passages describing their function in maintaining divine wisdom. Their continuous presence in heavenly courts suggests their role in preserving knowledge of divine governance and order. Impact on religious understanding. The influence of these beings extends into religious thought and practice. Their existence shaped theological understanding of divine governance and spiritual reality. Early religious communities developed doctrines and teachings that incorporated their role in divine order. Religious texts from various traditions demonstrate how belief in these beings influenced worship practices and spiritual understanding. Their presence in religious narratives contributed to human comprehension of divine authority and spiritual hierarchy. Contemporary religious significance. The historical roles of these beings continue to influence religious thought today. Their presence in foundational religious texts shapes current understanding of spiritual reality and divine governance. Religious communities still draw insights from ancient descriptions of their functions and influence. Traditional religious teachings maintain the significance of their role in divine order. Their position in biblical narrative continues to inform theological discussions about spiritual authority and divine administration. Documented historical impact. Historical records demonstrate the lasting impact of belief in these beings. Ancient religious sites contain artistic depictions of divine councils and celestial beings, indicating their significance in religious consciousness. Archaeological evidence reveals how various cultures incorporated understanding of these beings into their religious practices. The influence of these beings appears in religious manuscripts throughout history. Medieval religious texts contain detailed discussions of their roles and functions, demonstrating their continued significance in religious thought. The evidence presented throughout this analysis converges on several fundamental points regarding the sons of God. First, biblical texts clearly establish their existence prior to Earth's creation, as definitively stated in the Book of Job. This chronological placement proves critical to understanding their role in divine order. The archaeological record, particularly the Dead Sea Scrolls and ancient Near Eastern texts, provide substantial historical context for these beings. These findings demonstrate that belief in divine beings predating human creation was widespread across ancient civilizations, though expressed through different cultural lenses. The theological evidence presents three primary interpretations of their identity: angelic beings, members of a divine council, or unique spiritual entities. Each interpretation finds support in religious texts and historical documents, though the angelic interpretation remains predominant in traditional religious thought. Their roles and functions, as documented in religious texts, consistently demonstrate their significance in divine governance. From witnesses to creation to participants in celestial administration, these beings occupied crucial positions within spiritual hierarchy. The historical record reveals their lasting influence on religious understanding and practice. Archaeological findings, religious manuscripts, and artistic depictions throughout history testify to their importance in spiritual consciousness. This synthesis of evidence establishes a coherent narrative about these beings' nature and purpose, grounded in documented historical and religious sources. The understanding of the sons of God continues to influence modern religious thought and practice in significant ways. Traditional religious institutions maintain careful interpretations of these beings' nature and purpose, drawing from historical documentation and established theological frameworks. Contemporary religious scholarship examines these beings through systematic theological analysis. Major seminaries and religious academic institutions continue to study ancient texts and archaeological evidence, developing nuanced understandings of their role in divine order. This academic work influences current religious teaching and doctrine. Religious communities incorporate this understanding into their theological frameworks. Modern religious leaders draw upon traditional interpretations while addressing contemporary questions about spiritual reality and divine governance. These teachings help believers contextualize their faith within the broader scope of divine history. Religious education programs include study of these beings as part of comprehensive theological instruction. Seminary courses examine biblical references and historical documents, preparing religious leaders to address questions about spiritual hierarchy and divine order. This educational focus ensures continued transmission of traditional understanding. The historical evidence about these beings contributes to modern interfaith dialogue. Shared recognition of divine beings across ancient traditions provides common ground for theological discussions between different faiths. This facilitates meaningful engagement while maintaining respect for distinct religious perspectives. The study of the sons of God continues to offer rich opportunities for theological and historical research. Traditional religious institutions maintain dedicated programs examining ancient texts and archaeological evidence, seeking deeper understanding of these beings' role in divine order. Religious scholars focus on several key areas for future study. The ongoing analysis of Dead Sea Scroll fragments may reveal additional details about how ancient communities understood these beings. Furthermore, continued examination of early religious manuscripts provides opportunities to enhance our comprehension of their historical significance. Religious education faces the important task of presenting this theological understanding to new generations. Traditional religious institutions develop careful approaches to teaching about these beings, maintaining historical accuracy while addressing contemporary questions about spiritual reality. The preservation and study of ancient religious texts remain crucial for future understanding. Religious institutions maintain careful protocols for document preservation, ensuring these historical records remain available for continued examination and study. This concludes our comprehensive analysis of the sons of God, their biblical significance, and their ongoing relevance to religious understanding. The evidence presented demonstrates their important place in religious history, while maintaining focus on documented sources and traditional interpretation. We've delved deep into this fascinating exploration of the sons of God, and now I invite you to share your thoughts on this profound topic. What aspects of this ancient mystery resonate most with you? Which interpretation do you find most compelling? If you found value in this analysis, Please support our work by subscriing to the channel. Your subscription enables us to continue producing thoroughly researched content on significant theological and historical topics. Share this video with family and friends who might appreciate this scholarly perspective on biblical history. Show your support by clicking the like button below. It helps others discover this content and contributes to building our community of thoughtful learners and seekers of knowledge. Together, we can explore more fascinating aspects of religious history and understanding. Join us next week for another in-depth analysis of biblical mysteries and their historical significance.